the arrival of the alien god. You must follow me deep down this rabbit hole. Come and see. Working on Ragnarok and the fall of the comet led me to look into the highly concentrated red clay areas of Britain. London, Wales, and Sunderland are the main locations. So I follow the white rabbit, which leads to a great understanding. In geology, the bagshot beds are a series of sands and clays of shallow water origin, some being freshwater and some being marine. They belong to the Upper Eocene formation of the London and Hampshire basins in England, which led me to look into the Eocene Epoch. The Eocene Epoch is a geological epoch that lasted from about 56 to 34 million years ago. It is the second epoch of the Paleogean period in the modern Cenozoic era. The name Eocene comes from the ancient Greek word Eos, meaning the dawn, and the word Kainos, meaning new, and refers to the dawn of the modern fauna that appeared during that epoch. And this is very important. The word Eos is connected to Eros, the Greek god, born of the darkness, here known as Erebus. But dawn in Babylon was 7 p.m. Referring to the dawn may actually be a reference to the 7. Either way, it is symbolic and in honor of the 7. But more importantly, the dawn of the new fauna, as you will see. The Eocene spans the time from the end of the Paleocene epoch to the beginning of the Oligocene epoch. The end of this period is set at a major extinction event called the Grande Coupure, which means the Great Break, or the Eocene-Oligocene extinction event, which may be related to the impact of one or more large bolides in Siberia and in what is now Chesapeake Bay. A bolide, Italian via Latin from the Greek bolis, meaning missile, is an extremely bright meteor, especially one that explodes in the atmosphere. In astronomy, it refers to a fireball, about as bright as a full moon, and is generally considered a synonym for a fireball. In geology, a bolide is a very large impactor. In the beginning of the Oligocene, it is marked by a large-scale extinction. And floral and faunal turnover, although this is minor in comparison to the largest mass extinctions. From this period, new mammals also arrive. If I am correct, and these plants and animals were a product of this union of two gods, or two separate planets, the new species would possibly be invasive due to their new environment, meaning hostile, due to them having to survive in an unnatural surrounding. There must have been life on this meteor for it to change the fauna in such a way. Before this, Earth may have been an Eden, so to speak, meaning that Eden was infiltrated by an invasive species that fell from the heavens. This does ring a bell, doesn't it? Most of the affected organisms were marine or aquatic in nature. This would be due to the red clay in the water, possibly producing the lotus flower and other psychedelics. And the Voynich manuscript may indicate which plants are actually alien to Earth, and those plants may connect us to the red clay meteor that fell. The new Fauna epoch is caused by the red clay and this event. Life on Earth is said to be around 3.5 billion years old, and 54 million years ago for the red clay. Obviously it is older, but this is the date when it first settled on Earth. The Oligocene is often considered an important time of transition, a link between the archaic world of the tropical Eocene and the more modern ecosystems of the Miocene era. Major changes during the Oligocene included a global expansion of grasslands and a regression of tropical broadleaf forests to the equatorial belt. This would be a very good explanation for the systematic destruction of the tropical rainforests. They appear to be the original fauna of Earth. DMT is found in most long grasses. DMT is in the tall grass where the tablets of destiny were found. This is possibly symbolic for psychedelic plants, unnatural plants, connecting to the unnatural earth, which would be the supernatural world. The extinction event, called the Grande Coupure, featured the replacement of European fauna with Asian fauna, except for the endemic rodent and marsupial families. Don't forget, this is the year of the rat. This event assimilated most of the Earth's fauna, but how? The messenger, the guide, reveals the answer. Oumuamua is the first known interstellar object which has been detected passing through our solar system. It has the properties of a comet, but looks like an asteroid. It passed its closest point to the Sun on the 9th of September 2017. Pop quiz. Who would that day belong to? Top answer. The messenger, Tahoot. And it is the beginning of the month of martyrdom. Oumuamua has a dark red color, similar to objects in the outer solar system. Despite its close approach to the Sun, Oumuamua showed no signs of having a coma, which would have the appearance of an all-seeing evil eye. But it also did exhibit non-gravitational acceleration and an unexplained change of trajectory, which is why this comet or asteroid is being monitored for signs of artificial life. The name Oumuamua comes from Hawaiian. The meaning is scout, from U, meaning reach out for, and Mua, replicated for emphasis, which means first, in advance of, and reflects the way this object is like a scout or messenger sent from the distant past to reach out to humanity. It roughly translates the first distant messenger. Oumuamua, Pazuzu. They are both reduplicated for emphasis. And who would be the first messenger in ancient Babylon? Ashushu-Nimir, the demon created by Enki, also known as Shutu, the wind demon, aka Anzu, Pazuzu, duplicated for emphasis. He is the floodstorm weapon, and this is very relative. I translate the name Pazuzu as follows. Pa means multiplied or occurrence. Zuzu, which is the word spirit repeated. It is duplicated. This would also represent the Tahut sigil. 2 halves, 2 spirits, 2 earths, yin-yang, etc. As we go forward, understanding the word pagan is essential. Pa can also mean occurrence. Gan means Garden of Eden. So the word pagan really means multiplication of the Garden of Eden, or occurrence of the Garden of Eden. It means the duplication of the Garden of Eden. A subsequent report on observations by the Spitzer Space Telescope set a tight limit on cometary outgassing of any carbon-based molecules and indicated that Oumuamua is at least 10 times more shiny than a typical comet. It is unknown how long the messenger has been traveling among the stars. Our solar system is likely to be the first planetary system that Oumuamua has closely encountered, since being ejected from its birth star system, potentially several billion years ago. According to one hypothesis, Oumuamua could be a fragment from a tidally disrupted planet, meaning that Oumuamua is part of another planet. If this were true, this would make Oumuamua a very rare object, of a type much less abundant than most extrasolar dusty snowball comets or asteroids. It is the first comet ever to be redesignated as an asteroid. If this was a fragment from a tidally disrupted planet, this fragment could possibly contain forms of life, incubated in the dark abyss of space, immediately frozen in time. The lack of a coma limits the amount of surface ice to a few square meters, and any volatiles, if they exist, must lie below a crust. It also indicates that the object must have been formed within the frost line of its parent stellar system, or have been in the inner region of that stellar system long enough for all the surface ice to sublimate, as may be the case with Damocloids. One speculation regarding the shape of Oumuamua is that it is a result of a violent event, such as a collision or stellar explosion, that caused its ejection from its original system of origin. Light curve observations suggest the object may be composed of dense metal-rich rock that has been reddened by millions of years of exposure to cosmic rays. It is thought that its surface contains tholins, which are irradiated organic compounds that are more common in objects in the outer solar system, and this can help determine the age of the surface. This possibility of organic compounds is inferred from the spectroscopic characterization and its dark and reddened color, and from the expected effects of interstellar radiation. Despite the lack of any cometary coma when it approached the Sun, it may still contain internal ice hidden by an insulating mantle produced by long-term cosmic ray exposure. In November 2019, some astronomers have noted that Oumuamua may be a cosmic dust bunny. I think that refers to it being very fertile, due to its very lightweight and fluffy conglomerate of dust and ice grains. From the mightiest blue whale to the most minuscule paramecium, life as we know it takes dramatically different forms. Nonetheless, all organisms are built from the same 6 essential elemental ingredients: carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. The Eocene period. During this epoch, the continents continued to drift towards their present positions. Antarctica became more isolated, and finally developed an ice cap. I remind you that the red clay hit America and Europe due to an impact from a bolide, known as the rock darkness. Open plains and deserts became more common, and the DMT grasses expanded from their waterbank habitat in the Eocene, moving outwards into open tracts. However, at the end of this period, grass was not quite common enough for modern savannas. As mentioned, the long grasses contain DMT, and they are linked to the god of fertility, the god of vegetation, the god of the earth. This would be the arrival of the alien god. All of this happens after the fall of the comet. There is also a possible link to Oam from this epoch, which is a Celtic tree-based writing system. In North America, the subtropical species dominated, with cashew and lychee trees present, and temperate trees, such as the rose tree. Beeches and pines were common. The legumes spread, while sedges, bulrushes, and ferns continued their ascent. So there we have the expansion of the fauna, which by definition is acting like an invasive species. The grasses are now almost everywhere. But was I correct about the predators developing after the fall of this comet? Let me enlighten you. The more open landscape allowed animals to grow to a much larger size than they had earlier in the Paleocene epoch, which is 30 million years earlier. Marine faunas became fairly modern, as did terrestrial vertebrate fauna on the northern continents. This was probably more as a result of the older forms dying out, rather than a result of the more modern forms evolving. The new forms of life which grew from this red clay is now the dominant and invasive species. The mention of the older forms dying out may also be placed over the variant humanoids. Remember that humanity within mythology is specifically made from clay. There are many groups which grew from this epoch, such as equids, entelodonts, rhinos, mericoidodonts, and camelids became more able to run during this time, adapting to the plains that were spreading as the Eocene rainforest receded. The first felid, Proailerus, originated in Asia during the late Oligocene and spread to Europe. South America was isolated from the other continents and had evolved a quite distinct fauna by the time of the Oligocene period. the South American continent was home to animals such as Pyrotherés and Astropotherés. As well as lit-top terns and notungulates, Sepicosousians, the terror birds, the carnivorous Metatheres, like the Boreanids, who were the dominant predators of this age. Brontotheres died out in the earliest Oligocene, and creodonts died out outside Africa and the Middle East at the end of this period. Multituberculates, which is an ancient lineage of primitive mammals that originated back to the Jurassic, also became extinct in the Oligocene. Aside from the Gondwanatheres, the Oligocene period was home to a wide variety of mammals. A good example of this would be the White River fauna of Central North America, which were formerly a semi-arid prairie home to many different types of endemic mammals, and early canids, like Hesperocyon. Mericoidodonts, which is an endemic American group, were made very diverse during this time. You understand that their species was duplicated. It was multiplied, which appears to be by the fall of the comet. In Asia, during the Oligocene, a group of running rhinoceratoids gave rise to the Indecotheres, like Paraceratherium, which were the largest land animals ever to walk the earth. We are led to believe that this comet prevented the large growth, but here it is the very cause. The marine animals of the Oligocene oceans resembled today's fauna, such as the bivalves, Calarius. Cirritulids appeared in the Oligocene period. The fossil record of marine animals is a little spotty during this time, and not as well known as the Eocene or Miocene. But some fossils have been found. The baleen whales and toothed whales had just appeared, and their ancestors, the Archaeocet Cetaceans, began to decrease in diversity due to their lack of echolocation, which was very useful as the waters became colder and cloudier. Other factors to their decline could include climate changes and competition with today's modern cetaceans, and the requiem sharks, which also appeared in this epoch. So both the plants and the mammals that grew from the red clay in this period are very invasive and hostile. It would appear that this missile-like comet is the all-spark that assimilated the Earth. It is the union of heaven and earth. The larger animals suggests that if humans were around at this point and were exposed to this comet's intense radiation during pregnancy, they may have had children that were larger than life. It would also explain their nature in myth. If the children were born with radiation, then it is very likely that they would be born hairless. From Bigfoot to Adam, except Adam would be the Hulk, born in a biological gamma radiation chamber. This would be the fallen angels' union with women. So in relation to the mother goddess, begetting hideous creatures, we should all remember that Zeus took her without consent, meaning that the original Earth is your true reason for being. And much like my own father, Zeus is hide-and-seek champion of the world. The two original planets may be innocent, but the combination of these two planets produced the DMT, the long grasses, meaning that Earth is now a gateway, and humanity are the gatekeepers. And I believe it is through this gate is where we actually have the arrival of the alien god. By definition, the comet, the fallen one, would be the father of it, and the Earth would be its cosmic egg.